Well, Jimmy Kimmel made his emotional return to U.S. late-night television last night, just 6 days after ABC suspended his show indefinitely. The program was pulled in the wake of comments the host made over the death of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. Kimmel's monologue highlighted the importance of free speech while poking fun at U.S. President Donald Trump.
You almost have to feel sorry for him. He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
Kimmel also used his monologue to pay respects to Charlie Kirk and his wife, Erica. Despite Disney's decision to reinstate the show, nearly one-third of ABC stations are still not airing Jimmy Kimmel Live. Eli Glasner has been following Kimmel's return to late night and joins us now with more. So, Eli, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit more about what Jimmy Kimmel had to say last night.
It was funny, as expected. It was pointed at times, and I would say surprisingly emotional. In terms of politics, he talked about freedom of speech. He talked about the suspension and how this kind of censorship, he called it anti-American, and he even talked about how the reaction, the backlash to taking the show off air crossed the political lines, including some words from Ted Cruz. Take a look.
I don't think I've ever said this before, but Ted Cruz is right. He's absolutely right. This affects all of us, including him. I mean, think about it. If Ted Cruz can't speak freely, then he can't cast spells on the Smurfs. Even though I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects, some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did, and they deserve credit for it.
So there you go. Now, he also addressed his original comments about MAGA and the reaction to the murder of Charlie Kirk. And he didn't apologize per se, but he did acknowledge how his comments could be misinterpreted. But when he actually talked about that shooting, we saw another side of Jimmy Kimmel, an emotional side, frankly, I've never seen before.
It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do.
We also saw him getting choked up near the end of his monologue. We talked about Charlie Kirk's wife actually forgiving the killer. But then he took aim at Donald Trump, not surprisingly. Lots of jokes, poking fun at the administration and the person that some see responsible for all of this, Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC. That is the regulator which is in charge of licensing places like Disney, and he actually showed an interesting comment from Carr from 2022. Let's take a look.
The FCC has a tradition of meddling where they shouldn't under many administrations, but it wasn't always like this. There was an FCC commissioner back in 2022 who worked under Joe Biden who was spot on. He wrote, "President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship." You know who wrote that? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr.
Now, another thing that Brendan Carr, the FCC commissioner, said actually just last week was we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And some perceive that's what kind of got this ball rolling, that he was suggesting, let's say, to the affiliate stations that they not air the show. And then the affiliate stations did take Kimmel off the air. And to poke fun at that, we actually had a skit with Robert De Niro as the new chair, definitely kind of channeling some of his more mob-adjacent characters as the muscle behind the FCC.
Okay, so behind the scenes here then, Eli, because everything you've just brought us, some of
Yeah.
these clips from last night, trying to strike a more sort of conciliatory tone, also definitely poking fun at the situation a little bit, at the administration. But what's going to happen behind the scenes now with ABC and with Disney?
It's still happening. I mean, last night, Jimmy Kimmel went on air, but depending on where you lived in America, you might not see his show. It was preempted because these affiliate networks, Nexstar and Sinclair, have continued to preempt the show. This is a map, so you see the various stations in the various parts of America. Now, that's about 25% of the audience. ABC is only owned outright with a few stations, so a lot of these programs depend on these local stations, which still have a lot of power to show the programs like Kimmel's. And both Nexstar and Sinclair are basically saying they're not satisfied and they want to have conversations with Disney to know that what transpired won't happen again. And at the same time, Trump is now threatening to sue ABC once again. So this has already happened. Last night, clearly not happy with what has transpired. Trump saying on Truth Social, I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. So he did sue ABC. This was the Kamala Harris 60 Minutes story, and it was a question of editing. And in the end, ABC settled and gave $16 million to a future President Trump library. And now Trump is saying, let's do that again. Also, very interesting, New York Times has done some extensive reporting of what's happening inside the FCC. One thing they look at very carefully is kind of political bias. They're now reopening investigations into CBS, NBC, and ABC, and that includes Saturday Night Live when Kamala Harris went on the show in 2024.
Just a couple days before the big election night.
Okay,
so lots of reaction then to be watching for. You've mentioned Nexstar and Sinclair. We'll be watching to see if there's any more reaction from them on how they're going to handle this going forward. What are you going to be watching for in the days ahead here?
It's a question of that creative chill, right? I think right now the discussion around freedom of speech in America has been reinvigorating for some, but you also see some corporations playing it safe. We saw Apple. There's a new show coming called The Savant, starring Jessica Chastain. She plays an agent who infiltrates these extremist groups, and she's trying to infiltrate kind of white national groups that might be actually domestic terrorists. This is based on a true story from a Cosmopolitan article. Big star Jessica Chastain. Apple has now decided to postpone the airing of this series. They're pushing it further down the calendar. And the other big one is tomorrow. One Battle After Another is an adaptation of a Thomas Pynchon novel. They've made a lot of changes and updated this story, but this stars one of the biggest stars in the world, Leonardo DiCaprio, and he is playing a member of kind of a far-left group of social radicals, the kind of group that, frankly, President Trump might describe as Antifa. We, in this movie, see them attacking migrant detention centers, government buildings, and banks. So, on the one hand, an incredibly timely film, but on the other hand, kind of a stick of dynamite in the current political climate.
So a little bit of a chilling effect already then on what some studios are choosing to go after here.
In the case of Apple, yes, and I think some, like what we saw with Disney, will criticize that move, but that's the question of where we are now is Kimmel's back on air. How is Hollywood, how is the town feeling, and what goes forward?
Eli, thank you for this. Great to have you here on this. We do appreciate it this morning.
Anytime.
Eli Glasner for us.